he was like, what do you think if we um are celibate until marriage? And I went off on the brother. I was like, that's just the stupidest thing that I done heard. We haven't already did it. Like, that don't even make any. And so it was just, I was so livid. And so then after that is when I became super religious, you know. So it wasn't spiritual. It was religious spirit all the way through. So I remembered that. Like, he was willing to do that. So once I, you know, got saved,
Yeah.
then went and found him. Like, I knew where he worked. So I like went to his apartment. I went to his job, and I was just like, okay, like we could do that. You know what I mean? Like, we're gonna be together. He'd always told me he was gonna marry me. Like, even when we were friends, he used to say that. And so I mean, that's really what it was. It was just more so like him being willing to be celibate into marriage until marriage, and nobody else was gonna do that. At least that's how I felt at
Yeah.
the time. You know, so
Mm-hmm.
I remember the conversation, and I mean, he still is a good person. He's not religious anymore, but he still is. He was a good guy, and I always wanted to have one woman, one wife, and that's what he wanted. And so I'm like, okay, well, I don't think I'm gonna find this again. So let me get back together with him, because I had broke up with him because um he what do you call it when you it's a simple term. He faked me out. He stood me up. He stood
Yeah.
me up on
Mm-hmm.
a date and left me downtown Chicago. And back then that's when you had beepers. So we didn't have cell phones. And I'm paging him, and he would not he didn't show up. To come to find out, he was with his friends smoking weed, some stupid that he did eventually admit to, but by that point I'm done, you know, and I broke up with him. So after I got saved, I went and found my man, and that,
And that was
I,
it.
I was 19.
Mm-hmm. So, so you was 19 when you first got married.
Yeah, I was 19 and he was 21.
Oh, wow. Yeah, I was 24. How do you feel about getting married young? How do you feel about that?
It's stupid.
It's stupid.
Uh, I don't, there's no way I can, I mean, your brain isn't even developed. You know, you got to, when I say, you know, you got to understand what you want, I'm not talking about sex wise. That's not what I'm talking about. I'm just talking about what you have to know yourself. You have to know what kind of person that you want in your life. You know, what do you want the values for them to have, and vice versa. But I mean, just live. Like, you know, not that you can do that. Sure, you can to a certain extent if you don't have kids right away. There are things you could do with your spouse, but I just think you need to be an adult first and understand what living alone means, and paying bills on your own, and having your own resolve, and how you solve problems, and how you react to problems, and you know, just having that experience, not trying to grow up together and have all these crazy experiences together that end up, and that can happen whether you're 30, 40, or 50. But I'm just saying, just experiencing things for the very first time, it just puts a lot of strain on a marriage. It really does. It really does.
I hear you. I hear you. Did y'all do premarital counseling?
A little bit,
Mhm.
a little bit. I wouldn't say. I'm sure we probably should have had it more sessions than what we did. Again, I'm 45, so this was a long time ago. But we did meet with the pastor. It was probably like 3 times or something, like 2 or 3 times, something like that. Yeah, you know. But just um, we were just two totally different people. I was the breadwinner, and um I acted as such. And you know, he used to like, or kind of like be turned on by my um bossy ways, you know, and say things like, you look cute when you're mad. So then he gets older and it's like, who are you talking to? You know what I mean? Because he's becoming a man, you know what I mean? And he's just like, you know, I didn't ask you to redo my resume. You know what I mean? I didn't ask you to do this and that, but I would take on those things and be that person because I just was further in life than he was. I was like 20 buying properties, you know, without him. He didn't have anything. He knew what I was doing, but I would research those things, and teach myself certain things and like try to get him involved. And he's like, I don't want to do that. And I'm like, well, why not? This
Yeah.
doesn't get angry, you know? And so me being from 20 to 45, I'm a totally different person.
Yeah. For
I
sure.
would never, I don't raise my voice to men that I'm dating.
Mm,
You know, I manage my business. I manage my comedy career. You know, there's a certain way that I handle employees that work for me, but I know how to not manage a man. Like men to now, men think I'm pretty docile because I know what to argue about or not argue about, but discuss. It doesn't have to be an argument, you know. So now, if there was some draws on the floor, I would just pick them up.
mm,
That doesn't have to be an argument.
for
And when you're 20 years old, you argue about the toilet seat being up. I'm not saying that, sure, you can ask about it, but for it to become something where you are arguing and not speaking to each other, it's ridiculous.
yeah.
Put
Yeah.
the toilet seat down.
Yeah. No, I agree.
It's just not that serious, you know.
Mm,
So you realize that when you get older, you know, there's a lot more important things than some of the silly things that you would argue about
for sure. Yeah.
20
Shout
some
out
years.
to, yeah, shout out to 45.
Um,
I'm 46, so
yeah, yeah. I don't do arguments. If I'm arguing, it's probably time we break up.
hmm at, at, at what point did you know there was trouble in paradise? When did you realize, like, maybe maybe we shouldn't do this?
I knew actually a week before we got married.
Hmm.
Yeah, there was some we were about to get married, and my husband was fiance at the time was cleaning out the closet in my room while I was at work. I can't remember if he had a job.
Hmm.
I think he did. I don't remember. He might not have. That was our other issue back and forth.
Hmm.
But he was cleaning out the closet. I was at work, and like my closet, he's cleaned out the closet that you know that I grew up in, and there was a box in the back of the closet with pictures of my old boyfriend. Nothing derogatory.
Yeah.
It was just I didn't know they were there, and there was this whole entire conversation, and he was ready to call the wedding off himself because I kept pictures. It's not a new house that we live in, then I can maybe understand that. But this is a box I haven't opened in years. I don't there.
Yeah. Yeah.
Who told you to clean out the closet? You know what I mean? Like what are you doing? So it was just it was ridiculous. Like I couldn't believe it. And my mom, I have an aunt named Tressa, and she begged me not to get married. She was just like, y'all are too young. And she was just like, you know, this is a perfect example of how immature he is.
Mhm.
And, you know, I had to like calm him down. My mother thought it was ridiculous. It was crazy. It was crazy. I kind of knew then, and
Mhm.
then got him off the ledge and just made him understand like I didn't even know those were there. I don't talk to that man. Like I don't yeah.
Yeah.
So
Hmm.
yeah. So that was a week before we got married. And then I would say year 5, which is the constantly getting laid off. Once again, I'm the breadwinner. It
Mhm.
is a stress on me.
Yeah.
And, you know, so I understand men and how they feel when everything is on them. And I get it. Some men want it all to be on them. That's fine. If that's what you want, by all provider, hey,
Mhm.
pay 100% if you could do that. Um, but for most of the world,
Mhm.
men like cannot pay 100%. That's not realistically. That you're not gonna, you know, it's a small percentage that can pay 100%. So my point is, I understand how that feels when you know your spouse keeps losing a job and it's their fault. Um,
Mhm.
and and you're like, okay, so now I got to get a second job, and I got to sell Mary Kay on the side, and I got a job, and then I'm doing hair, and then I'm trying to manage the properties with the tenants that I own, and you know, just kind of like doing all this stuff by myself. So
Yeah.
about I was yeah. So we were together. We were married for 7 years.
Mhm.
7 year itch.
7 years.
7.
Well, I'm coming up on year number 6 at the end of this month. So what is your piece of advice for us?
Oh goodness. I mean, now that's hard to say without knowing you all, but
Yeah,
uh,
just some
yeah,
common wisdom.
just to continue to, communicate and talk about things, even if you feel that you might hurt their feelings. You got to talk about it. You got to keep things hot and still have date night, whether you got kids or not. You know, um, you have to. Um, what else? What else? What else? I mean, communication, respect, and honesty. If you're spiritual people, I mean, you whatever you believe in, I mean, whether that's biblical or not, I mean, you gotta getting that word together or whatever it is that you believe in. No disrespect to other people, might be Muslim
Of course,
or
for
what
sure.
have. But yeah, there need to be some spirituality in your life. I mean, I think it's good to a certain extent when men be scared God gonna get them. Like when they just not scared at all. I think that's when the cheating happened. No, I'm just joking. But seriously,
No, that's
um,
real.
I mean, I think that has something to do with it. Like that sometimes is their reason to not, go through with that. But you gotta talk. You gotta talk.
Yeah,
Gotta and in by 6 years in, you know each other's love languages. You know what I mean?
yeah.
So, if you don't, now that's a problem. I mean, you gotta know that.
Oh
So
yeah,
just you to kind of operate in that, and that may evolve, just over time of, loving a person as they change and as they evolve and grow.
yeah.
Um, you know, you don't
Mm,
have but to do that.
yeah, for sure. Because I'm looking at, as I get older, because there's a 12-year age gap between my wife and I. I'm 12 years older than her, and I'm really at this age is becoming a better communicator than I was in my first marriage. Like my first marriage, I was trash. Like I was trash when it came to
Not
communicating. Uh, but now I'm a lot better, and I'm learning to get better, at this age. So the communication piece is important. Oh my
yeah.
God, it's important.
But why do you think you were trash? Do you think you too busy to care? Like, what do you think the reason was?
For me, because I was married for 15 years, for me, I think I was just immature. And then I didn't know how to express myself because when I was growing up as a kid, I grew up in an era where, kids are seen and not heard, that whole
Yeah,
thing. So um, we didn't have a lot of communication. My mother just told me what to do, and that was it.
right.
So I kind of grew up like shutting my feelings down and struggling with how I really felt about things. So um,
Okay.
yeah, it was just through this time around that getting married, remarried, I'm like, you know what? Let me get in this therapist's office.
Yeah. Always good. I mean, that's always a good thing to have go through therapy, even if you feel like you don't need it. I have not, but I think that's good. I'm not saying I won't. Maybe I will, but that's a good thing.
Thank you, thank you. What is the one thing that you did to heal to get over your marriage, or was it something that you were just like, I'm glad it's over?
I moved to Houston.
Hmm.
I moved.